are today at Mainnet conference in New York, and we are here with one of the speakers, Kristin Smith, who is Executive Director of Blockchain Association. It's a trade association based in Washington, and she is a big pusher of crypto legislation in the US. Great to have you here, Kristin.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful to be here.
So can you tell us about your journey in crypto? How did you get involved, and how did you get involved with US regulators?
Yeah, no, I started my career in Washington, D.C. I worked on Capitol Hill as a congressional aide for about 10 years, and then went into lobbying, but really wanted to find something I was passionate about. And I was assigned to one client that was doing a little bit with Bitcoin, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really something here. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, and so I went down the rabbit hole, and it turned out there was a lot of interest in starting up a trade association, and I was in the right place at the right time, and here we are.
Yeah, it's very nice. So which client was that? Which company?
It was a couple companies. It was Coinbase actually at the time. We're here in the Coinbase Lounge. Protocol Labs, Digital Currency Group, Polychain Capital. So, some of the most active investors, projects, exchanges at that time.
So why did you see the value of Bitcoin and that it will be the future?
Well, to me it just seemed the next evolution of the internet in a certain way. I had worked a lot on internet policy early in my career, and as Web 2 began to emerge, I sort of became I didn't like the idea that there was all of this privacy violations and whatnot. And even before there was a Web3 movement, I was really excited about Bitcoin because it seemed to provide some ownership on the internet. And now, as we've seen today, as we have more smart contract platforms deployed, we have all of this innovation going on in the Web3 space. I feel like my instincts at that time were right. I wish I knew how to actually build and develop something other than policy, because I'd be retired by now. But no, it's a really exciting space to be in.
So how do you see the current state of US crypto regulations?
Well, we're definitely at an inflection point, as I was talking about earlier today. I think we've seen all that federal agencies can do to advance regulation. They don't really have much authority left, so what we need now is for Congress to come in, clean up that authority, and create some new policy. In the meantime, I think we're going to see more and more companies pushing back against overreach by regulators. So I think we're in a stage of litigation and legislation.
And can you comment about the recent report on Biden's executive order?
Yes, no, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, the executive order was a bit disappointing. It focused very much on the risks. I would say it overemphasized the risks, and there was little discussion of the benefits or opportunities from crypto and blockchain networks. And so it was disappointing. They also are very focused on a central bank digital currency. So I think it missed the mark, but I actually don't think it matters a whole lot, because the game right now is in Congress and in the courts.
And what are your thoughts on central bank digital currency? Will it take place?
Yeah, I don't think we really have a position as a trade association, though I would say it takes a long time. I mean, the Fed has been working for years now to develop their Fed Now initiative, and they just can't seem to get that off the ground. I can't imagine they're going to be quick to implement something as complex as a CBDC.
Yeah, such stuff takes years. And as well, we recently had the news on Ethereum merge, and recently CSC filed a lawsuit against one of the influencers, Jan Balina, that he didn't register ICO's offerings in 2018, and there was like a subtle claim that all Ethereum transactions may fall under US legislation, and that it may be considered that Ethereum is security under the US.
Yeah, no, we just strongly disagree with any sort of legal analysis that points to ETH as a security. I mean, I think I'm not a lawyer, but I've been told by our lawyers that we work with that they don't think that is a valid analysis. And I think it was encouraging that one of the bills right now calls out ETH as a commodity, even in legislation. So even though I don't think that's what we think the definition should be, the fact that they're recognizing ETH as a commodity, I think is important.
So do you think ETH should be regulated more as a commodity?
I think so. I think giving the CFTC an expanded role and allowing spot commodity markets to be regulated at the CFTC is a really important thing to do. But I do think we need to settle this question about when something is a security or a commodity, so that people who are helping to trade these assets know what kind of regulation they need to fall under. That's something we're working on, and I think we can advance with legislation.
Yeah, it's true. And in your thoughts, Bitcoin should be as well regulated as commodity?
For Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Bitcoin's 100% a commodity. I don't think many disagree with that. Even Gary Gensler said that.
Yeah, and as well we see some countries adopting more crypto, and we see example of El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender. What are your thoughts on this? And
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it just shows, like, despite, whether it's Congress or El Salvador, people are understanding that this is a technology that's here to stay, it's part of our future, and that it's something that we really need to think appropriately about what the regulation should look like, because it's not going away, it's here for good.
And by the way, do you work as well with FTX? They were as well quite close to the regulators and pushing a new legislation on regulation of derivatives by CFTC.
Yeah, no, they're not members of the Blockchain Association. We have 98 member companies. There's not one of them, but I know their team well, and we communicate. And there's a lot of effort right now, and I think it's really great to see so many different players in the industry working together to advance legislation.
Yeah, and as well in your speech you mentioned regulation of stablecoins. Can you give more comments on that?
Yeah, so there's legislation working through Congress right now that would provide some guidance about how to regulate stablecoins. So I think that would be very positive. I know there's a lot of concern, particularly about the dollar-backed stablecoins. It is important, though, that we make sure that crypto collateralized stablecoins like DAI and others don't get caught up, because they're just fundamentally different. And so it's something we're watching very closely.
Yeah, and you see as well different other jurisdictions, and what jurisdictions do you consider the most advanced in terms of crypto regulations, and maybe you guys should take experience of some other countries?
Yeah, I'm not as close with international regulation, but I know people look to Singapore, they look to the Bahamas, they look to Bermuda for having put a thoughtful plan in place. I think the challenge we have in the United States is that we have so many different financial regulators, there's not like a one-stop shop to do this. So we really do need Congress to come in and rearrange some things so that it works for the industry, but I'm confident we can get there.
Yeah. And how do you generally see the state of current crypto markets? Do you see it will be a bear market?
I wish I had a crystal ball to see how that's going to play out. But obviously there's a lot of macro factors right now. Inflation is a real issue, and I think that's impacting a lot of sectors. And there's a little bit less enthusiasm right now that we've gone through the merge. I do think, though, if we can get some momentum around legislation and new regulation, that will help bring more confidence back to the markets, and we'll see more individuals and institutions jump in.
Yeah, hopefully we will see better legislation in the future, and we see so many great companies, projects, and funds in US.
Yeah,
and hopefully it won't be missed out.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to make it. It's all good. Yeah. We'll be fine. A lot of work to do, though.
And can you as well add some comments on your on board director roles at Filecoin Foundation and as well as Skybridge?
Oh yeah, no, I have been honored to serve as on those boards. I think the Filecoin Foundation has done a really great job in creating community, or not even creating community, but bringing the people together that are working on the Filecoin ecosystem. And so I think that they're doing a wonderful job. Similarly, Skybridge is very into crypto, and it's been an honor to work with that team as well.
Yeah, that's quite interesting that traditional funds are stepping into this industry.
Yeah, no, it is interesting.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.